We are all familiar with the images of the 12 astronauts who walked on the lunar surface during the Apollo missions. They left their footprints, collected their samples, and returned to Earth. But there is a 13th person who never left. This singular individual is the only human to be permanently buried on the moon, despite the fact that he was never an astronaut. His name was Eugene Shoemaker. He was a scientist who realized that the study of stars and the study of rocks were inseparable, effectively founding the entirely new field of astrogeology. Shoemaker understood that exploring the moon required more than just pilot reflexes. It required a mind trained to read the history of the solar system written into the lunar crust. Shoemaker's ultimate goal was to be the first geologist on an Apollo crew, touching the lunar rocks and studying the craters of the moon firsthand. That dream ended abruptly when he was diagnosed with Addison's disease. The medical condition was a permanent disqualifier, barring him from ever joining a spaceflight crew. This created a significant gap in the Apollo program. The fighter pilots selected for the missions were masters of their aircraft, but they lacked the specialized training to identify which lunar rocks held the most scientific value. If Shoemaker couldn't go to the moon himself, he had to find a way to send his scientific expertise through the hands of the astronauts who could. Shoemaker's solution was to bring the lunar environment down to Earth, creating a classroom out of the most desolate landscapes he could find. He used massive impact sites, like this vast depression in the Arizona desert, as a direct training ground for Apollo crews to simulate the terrain they would find on the moon. He developed a specific curriculum for the pilots, teaching them to recognize impact patterns, distinguish between soil types, and select the specific samples that would provide a record of the moon's geological evolution. Neil Armstrong was one of his primary students, spending hours in the field with Shoemaker to prepare for those first historic steps. By the time the missions launched, Shoemaker had turned America's top test pilots into his own scientific proxies on the lunar surface. Even after the Apollo era, Shoemaker's influence on our understanding of the solar system only grew. In 1994, he and his wife co-discovered the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet. This sequence captures its fragments just before they collided with Jupiter. Watching this collision in real time allowed Shoemaker to see his theories on how craters form play out on a planetary scale. While his physical body remained bound to Earth's gravity, his research was actively tracking the mechanics of cosmic collisions across the solar system. In 1997, Shoemaker's research came to a sudden end. He died in a car accident while in Australia, still searching for undiscovered meteor craters. To honor his legacy, the scientific community decided to fulfill his lifelong dream of reaching the moon in the only way they still could. In January 1998, NASA launched the Lunar Prospector. Its payload included 1 ounce of Eugene Shoemaker's ashes, sealed in a specialized polycarbonate container. The capsule was wrapped in brass foil etched with his research sites, and a photograph of the Hale-Bopp comet, the last major comet he saw before his death. This small payload transformed a standard orbital mission into a final symbolic journey for the man who had taught an entire generation of astronauts how to see. On July 31, 1999, the mission concluded by intentionally crashing the Lunar Prospector into a crater at the lunar South Pole. That impact site was officially named Shoemaker Crater in his memory. Eugene Shoemaker, the man physically barred from space, ultimately stayed behind after everyone else came home, becoming the moon's permanent resident and proving that the greatest explorers are sometimes those who lead the way from the ground.